Guitar tips, guitar tips, just the tips, just for you. Well, guitar tips, guitar tips. Put a coda on that one. Hello tippers, my name is Adam Levy. This is Guitar Tips. I post a new tip here on this YouTube channel each and every Friday. And I appreciate you tuning in. If you are not a subscriber, it's very easy. You just click, see that red button down there? You just click on it. It's as simple as that. And I hope that the rest of your day is as simple as that. Martin Guitar Strings is our sponsor. Thank you, Martin Guitar Strings, for your support. You may notice that this here is not an acoustic guitar, so I don't happen to have Martin strings on this particular guitar. This is my trusty old ES330. On my acoustic guitars, on my steel string guitars, I like the retro strings. That's a series that Martin makes, and I like the light gauge with a 12 on, well, not a 12 on the bass string, a 12 on the treble side. That would be a strange set indeed with a 12 here. Anyway, thank you, Martin Guitar Strings, and now on with the tip of the week. This week's guitar tip is advice to a late bloomer. That's right, guitar tip this week is advice to a late bloomer. You see, this week I got a note from a guitar tip regular named Chris. He wrote in, I'm just going to read his note here, I hope he won't mind. He says, "Hey Adam, I stumbled across your videos several weeks ago and have binge watched them all. You always say to send you a comment or suggestion. Well, here's mine. I'm 53 years old and started playing about 4 years ago. Never played music prior to that. When I went to go buy my first guitar, I literally had to have the sales guy play it for me because I didn't know a single chord. In general, I'm working in mostly a jazz direction, real book type stuff. Could you do a guitar tips video for those of us who got a late start? How to cover the most ground as efficiently as possible. At times there seems to be so much to learn to become a jazz guitarist that I would need to live another lifetime to reach my goals." Yeah, Chris, join the club. I feel that way a lot, and I would imagine that many of you other folks out there feel that too. Even if jazz isn't your thing, whatever area you're studying, it probably feels like a lifetime of work at least, and quite possibly 2 lifetimes of work. But you know, that shouldn't stop you from doing the work, because that's what we do the work. So what I've done this week, so the guitar tip, I'm calling it advice to a late bloomer, and a jazz-oriented late bloomer in this case. But I've put together 7 sort of mini tips, and I'm just going to breeze through them here. And this is my advice for a late bloomer. Number 1, always practice in time. Get yourself a metronome or a metronome app or some kind of drum machine, or play along with records if you like to do that. Some people really like to do that. Whatever it is, practice in time. Jazz music started as a kind of a dance music, and although people don't dance to it as much these days, that's what's at the core of it. So you got to be swinging. You got to be playing music that happens in time. So don't practice a bunch of stuff and then turn on the metronome, or worse, go to a gig and wonder why your time is not happening. Get your time happening now, even if it means practicing slowly in time. Practice in time. Number 2, learn your shell chords really well in all keys all over the fretboard. You might want to check out guitar tip number 63, which is called 6 jazz chords are all you need. And it's just about using these basic shapes. If let's say the chord is G major 7 and you're looking at a chart in the real book, you can play root 7 3, or you can go up here and play root 3 7, and that's really all you need. If you wanted to, you could put a melody note on top if you wanted. So if you're working on like a solo guitar arrangement and you want to put melody notes on top of the shell chords, that's great. Shell chords are really bare bones, so they can be used as is to accompany a vocal or other melodic thing, or they could be the basis of a simple solo guitar arrangement. So I don't know, I'm looking at my music stand. It has Stardust in D flat. I don't know if you know that song, but the melody is, now here the chord would be G flat. On my chart it says G flat 6, that you could play root 3 6 and put the melody on top, or since the 6 is the melody, you could make it a major 7 and get a little more color. So same thing, G flat major, and there's a 6 in the melody, so you could play a 6th shell chord or major 7 shell chord. And now this is G flat minor with a major 7, so you could play G flat minor 6. That's going to be tricky, but not impossible. So I'm playing root 6, minor 3rd, and then the melody, which happens to be the major 7. And a lot of people would play B7 there. You could stay on the G flat minor, or you could go to B7, and the 3rd is the melody note, so you could play root 7 3, or you could sort of do a modified shell. This is root 7 2 3, or you can think of this as 9. So that's a B7 chord with that note on top. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But suffice to say, shell chords are super valuable. So don't worry about trying to get a huge chord vocabulary with all your drop 2 voicings and all that stuff. That's great to know, but shell chords will get you playing music, I think, a little bit faster if you just do the work of learning your shell chords, and they're very easy and they move all over the place. Okay, number 3, learn common jazz tunes. All the Things You Are, Autumn Leaves, Blue Bossa. I found a website that's, well, it's an online radio station that has a website, which is jazz24.org. And if you go to www.jazz24.org/jazz-100, there's a list of 100 jazz tunes that their listeners voted as the most popular jazz songs. So, somebody else might have another list of 100, but if you look at any list of 100 great jazz tunes, there's going to be lots of overlap. And start to learn those tunes. Don't worry about scales and a bunch of theoretical stuff. I think if you're trying to like fast track your way into jazz, learn tunes. That's really super important. If you're not learning tunes, you're not learning jazz. Learning the scales is not learning jazz. So I did a tip about that last week. It was tip number 84. Don't confuse scales with music. Learn tunes. Learn the common tunes that people play in jazz. And then learn to sing them. Even if you're a lousy singer, really, really, really do this. Learn to sing the tunes. They will live in your body and mind in a deeper place than if you just learn the chord shapes. Sing out loud. Sing the songs. Really, really do this. Number 4, don't get too stuck on the keys in the real book or any other book. Once you know a song, play it in other keys. If you're singing, find the best key for your own voice. If you think you know a tune, try playing it in another key. And if you're stumbling, then you just don't know the tune that well. So force yourself to learn the tunes well and play them in different keys. Related to that, I would suggest that you get an app. You can get it for your phone, your tablet, or whatever. It's called iReal Pro. It's IREALPRO. You can download the real book into that, and then you've got a backing band, a digital backing band for hundreds of songs, and you can transpose keys and you can change tempos, and it's really great. But even better than that, go play with real people. If at all possible, play with actual people. Jazz is not just having a bunch of chops or knowledge or whatever. It's really about interaction and interaction in real time. So the sooner you learn to do that, the better. So just play with people. If you don't know anybody, I don't know, go on Craigslist or look around. I don't know what town you live in, Chris, but find some people to play with, really. But if you live on a desert island and that's just not possible, the iReal Pro app is a pretty cool way to just practice when, you know, or I guess you could say that it's a good time. It's a good tool. They're not mutually exclusive. You could use the iReal Pro app and you could play with real people, but do both. Yeah. Number 6, listen to jazz actively, not just as background music. So if you're listening to jazz, at least use some of your day to really listen actively. Get out a notepad and take notes. What do you hear? What's happening? Who's playing? What instruments are being played? And how do they work together? What's the sound? Who takes a solo? Who doesn't take a solo? What happens behind the solo? You could go back and watch guitar tip number 22 called Listen to the Music, and I talk about that a little bit. The last tip, the last mini tip within this tip is transcribe solos. But start really simply. If you've only been playing 4 years, Chris, transcribing a Charlie Parker solo is probably going to be impossible. That's fine. Don't transcribe that. Transcribe a Chet Baker solo. Chet Baker's recording of Time After Time has a really nice, short, melodic trumpet solo, as do many of Chet Baker's recordings. He was a singer and trumpet player. Start with that, or start with Louis Armstrong, or just start with something that you can do. Don't try and transcribe a Michael Brecker solo and then throw your guitar down in disgust and wonder why you can't do it. I can't do that, so don't worry about it. Start where you are. Start with something simple. Build your confidence, build your ears and your imagination, and that's it. So these are my 7 mini tips. Always practice in time, learn your shell chords really well, learn common jazz tunes and sing them. Don't get stuck on keys. In other words, make sure to transpose things into different keys. Get the iReal Pro app and play with real people if at all possible. Listen to jazz actively and take notes, and transcribe solos. That's number 7. Transcribe them, write them down if you can. If you don't know how to do that, at least just learn them on the instrument. That's fine. That's fine, okay? So advice to a late bloomer, there you are. Guitar tips. Guitar tips. I just think this is so cool. Thank you to the Jim Dunlop people for making these picks for me. And that's about all I can tell you this week. So until next week, for Guitar Tips, I'm Adam Levy. Stay tuned and take good care.